In addition to the other types of content that I usually make on this channel, the adaptation showdowns, book versus movie, Soprano stuff, bad movie breakdowns, I want to start doing some little easier, simpler, shorter movie reviews. I don't really like to just trash stuff. There is enough negativity online. The world would not benefit from me just saying bad things about some movie. I'd rather frame this as you should watch. I saw a good movie, I really enjoyed it, I'm recommending it to you. If you're a fan of my channel and the things I talk about, perhaps you'll like this as well. To start this off, I would like to talk about Late Night with the Devil. The main role in the movie is played by David Dastmalchian, who I first knew as that crazy guy from The Dark Knight. David Dastmalchian plays Jack Delroy, the host of Night Owls, which is a popular late-night TV show in the 1970s. His late-night show is starting to lose in the ratings to other popular late-night shows of the time, like The Johnny Carson Show. In a desperate attempt to save his show's ratings, on Halloween night, Jack Delroy brings some very interesting guests onto his show. The first of which is a psychic medium who does some cold readings on the audience. The second of which is a skeptic who tries to disprove all of the paranormal stuff that happens on the show that night. And the third is a girl who is allegedly possessed by an evil demon. Without spoiling anything, let's just say this was a very interesting night of Night Owls. So, should you see this movie? Yes, you should. I thought it was very interesting. As I was watching for the first time, the word original and the word fresh kept popping up.
Originality and fresh.
There's been so many demonic possession type movies before. It's basically a whole subgenre of horror movies. But I've never seen any that take place on a late night talk show while it's being broadcast live for the whole country. The setting for this movie was minimal. It took place across one night, across that one broadcast Halloween special of the Night Owls show, and the whole thing took place just on the stage of that show. And I always think it's really cool when a movie gets a lot of use out of just one location. Another reason to see this movie is that I thought all the performances were very good, especially the main guy, David Dastmalchian, as Jack Delroy. He had all the charisma and pizzazz of, the 1970s late night TV talk show host. I could see this being a real person. And over the course of the night of the show's final broadcast, you got to see him slowly lose his sanity, which was very cool to see the progression from the beginning of the movie to the end. Completely lost it. The skeptic character on the show was the guest named Carmichael Haig, and he kind of worked as the straight man foil to all the spooky supernatural stuff going on as he was trying to disprove it. Up until a point, of course, when, he couldn't disprove any of that anymore. It was pretty obvious to me that this character was based off a real-life magician and skeptic named James Randi, aka the Amazing Randi. Randi was famous for disproving those who were using the supernatural to take advantage of people, particularly televangelists in the 80s and 90s. This skeptic character, like the real Amazing Randi, carried a check with him at all times and said he would give it to anyone who could prove that they were doing real magic or that their supernatural claims were in fact legitimate and that he could not disprove them. He would give this check to anyone who could prove that the supernatural was real. Never ended up giving the check away. Also, side note, the actor playing the skeptic character, the whole movie, I was like, where do I know this guy before? I swear I've seen his face. And then towards the end it hit me. I'm like, oh, he was Bane from Matrix 2 and 3. He had that really cool scene where he surprise attacked Neo and Trinity in the third one. Yeah, I remember that guy. I also thought this movie did a very good job of capturing the look and feel of a 1970s TV program. Obviously, I wasn't alive at the time, but it looked very authentic. The outfits, the sets, and even the cultural references throughout the movie were very on point. For example, the guest on the show, who is a young girl that was possessed by a demon, in the movie they said she was previously associated with a satanic sect run by a guy named Sanzor Diabo. Seems like they were referencing the real-life name of the founder of the Church of Satan, who is Anton Lavey. Some of the best 1970s aesthetics and just graphics in general came from the beginning of the movie, which was like this 5-minute little mini documentary that gave you the backstory of Jack Delroy's character and set up the, path of his career from the beginning to his peak to his slow descent in the ratings to, gives you a reason why he's inviting all these crazy people onto his show that night. It also gives some plot information that'll come relevant later in the movie, how his wife is ill and Jack Delroy was involved with that Bohemian Grove, that secret society that may or may not worship a giant owl statue in California's forests. I also like the fictional show Night Owls TV graphics for whenever they would say, let's hear a word from our sponsors. And they had those graphics on screen, their logo with the owl and all that. It looks so cool. So, should you see this movie? Yes, I think you should, especially if you're a fan of horror movies. Like I mentioned before, this felt original. I haven't seen a horror movie like this. There have been other demonic possession movies, but this felt like a fresh breath of fresh air in that whole subgenre. Great performances from all the actors, there were some funny bits, there were some legitimately spooky parts. The only thing I would take off some points in this movie for, I would say, is the ending. I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending left me a little like, huh? What's going on? I wasn't 100% on how it tied in with Jack Delroy's story and all that. I'm sure if I watch it again, it'll make perfect sense, but just on the first watch, I was like, what? This is well worth your watch, especially if you're a horror fan. Really cool movie. I always like to finish my videos by saying that if you've made it to this point in my video, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.